Hello there, welcome back. I start off with a video saying that next week I won't have any videos up. I've got stuff on next week. I'd rather just give myself a week off and not do anything rather than doing a half-assed job with some videos. So I'll try to rush stuff, so I'm not going to bother. But there will be videos on Fortnite again, and there's more this week than normal. And one of the videos this week is going to be like a bunch of films, loosely related films that I've seen recently that may not have warranted a full video on their own. So there is quite a lot of stuff coming up this week. But I'm going to start with Mirror. It's a Tarkovsky film that's deeply wonderful and is, like a lot of Tarkovsky films, it's something you need to pay a lot of attention to. He's not trying to spoon feed you the story. It's a very moody piece. It's set in Russia. It's about Russia in the war and Russian aftermath of war. It's about existence, and it's a very kind of complicated film. So expect a lot of vague comments by me that might not make sense. So this, I've got it on the Official Eye Curzon one label. I think Criterion also have it. Criterion seems to have done a lot of. You need to get Criterion or this one. There's Tarkovsky films cover a variety of labels, and if you have people like me who buy both of them, to have two different stalkers, two different Solarises, I'll probably surely soon have two different mirrors. It's just the way I am. So, Mirror is a film, one of the first films I saw from Tarkovsky. It was in a GFT in Glasgow. So I actually managed to see this film on the big screen, which gave a much bigger impact on me. Also, when I watched it recently, I watched it projected onto the screen that's over there, which it's not a full cinema screen, but it gives you a cinematic experience, and it's a stunner. I mean, it's a film that's elliptical, and it's not trying to tell you everything's going straight away. It's a moody piece, because the actress who plays his mother also plays his ex-wife, and it's about like how does our upbringing haunt our present lives? How do we see people and how do we not see people? Like how do we habitually take elements from people we knew in the past and sort of force them onto what we're seeing now? I mean, just how much of that is our nature and how much of that is just weakness in ourselves. There's a lot going on here, but it's a film about how badly women can be treated during war and during peacetime, really. So during the war, the father of the not a biographical Tarkovsky figure, obviously, is seen as a child and seen as an adult. And during the war, they're in the backwoods, trying to survive. Then they get moved into the city, and then after the war, he's married but divorced. His wife is doing a job, again played by the same actress, and it's about how the strands of their lives kind of interact in the sense that you can't tell one from the other in lots of ways, because even though time has passed and even though what was the boy has become a man, the depression of the past has taken hold and floated into the present, so that what was once him has been infected to his son, and he's trying to tell the wife that his son needs to be stronger. His son needs to move in with him and learn how to be stronger, to learn what he learned. And is this the right way for him? Is it not the right way for him? It's that kind of human nature element that people have to contend with, because people have their views of what's right and what's wrong for educating a child or educating a young person that are very much formed by how they grew up. So if you grew up in a place like Russia where no one's got individuality, it was clamped down on, and you're seen as a either a civilian or a potential soldier because the war's going on, And with Russia, there's lots of wars. There was civil wars. There was in the 20th century even the civil wars, and there was the world wars, and they had a lot going on. So it's a kind of, and they've got all those neighbouring states that they're dealing with, and it's like a state of war's always there. People are just depressed, or unsure themselves, unsure of what the meaning of life is. I mean, the state's getting bigger. People have just been lost within the state and lost within this landscape of either the countryside or the urban nightmare. And I mean in the countryside, people know each other a little bit better, but it's still like a very cold environment. It doesn't go for sentimentality of the countryside. It's like, well, this is a cold environment. This is there's a lot of nasty stuff goes on there. A lot of confusion. People try and help each other out, but they're not quite sure of each other, and it's just the painful interaction of human beings and the paranoias and their flaws. So when you go into the kind of urban areas, you have some people who are friendly with the characters, but there's other ones who can be pretty brutal to the characters. So, and that happens also in the countryside environment. So it's something that's a constant of human nature. It's like you can't really escape from one environment to the other and escape this, because that's human nature. This is human nature, given the Russian spin of there's a non-stop depression in the air. There's a sense of this is a world where people don't have any hope. They're just trying to survive, and people kind of kick at others who may have some hope because they don't have any. So they're going to be tough, and their view of dealing with their family is almost like to teach them to be tough. That's the way to survive in this world. You have to let it be tough. You have to learn to see what people are like and not have romantic illusions about anything. Even if you're thinking about the past and how that created you, you're going to pass it on to your son or daughter, and they're going to be affected by it. So you have lots of people hooking up who are traumatized by their own past, and they're passing that damage on to the next generation. Anyway, people who are trying to make sense of their lives, but they're seeing echoes of their youth in their own lives, and they can't quite get rid of the haunting of what went on. So you're going from past to present all the time, and your character's looking into an environment and then almost moving into the past, and it's all beautifully done. Tarkovsky is a gorgeous filmmaker, but it's a very difficult film to describe because everything's about the emotions of the scene by scene as you see it evolve. There's not a simple narrative thread like Stalker had that you could actually describe. It's about a feeling of a generational depression that's happened, and it's been created by an older generational depression. It's also happened. It's like this. It's the past and present mirror each other, hence the title, and people mirror each other, like his wife and his mother mirror each other. He didn't go on with his mother for some reason, and he's focused on his wife, and he's seen too many traits of the same person, but also his traits seem to be of a very flawed person who hasn't really learned that much in the past, and is not really been that helpful to his son. Is not going to help his son develop in any real way because he's so wrapped up in his problems. And this is always a stand-in for Tarkovsky, and it's almost like, okay, what do we do with our past? What do we do with our futures? How do we help the children move on from our mistakes? How we did not manage to move on from our parents' mistakes? And it's about that kind of sensation of, you're kind of numb to knowing what to do. And that just floats through the film, and it's almost like a disease going through the film. This beautiful film with these gorgeous shots, zooming in and out, it's very slowly. There's a great scene early on where there's a barn on fire and we're moving slowly towards it, and it's almost like a portent of doom within this beautiful green lush landscape. And whenever you go to anywhere beautiful, there's always a sense of doom within it. It's just a film about a sense of like alienation from yourself. It's just a sense of there's something wrong in this society. This society is not developed in a healthy way, but it's reminiscent of any society you deal with at that time, because it was a terrible time. It was a time when people were beaten down. I mean, you did a rise of technology, so people weren't as needed anymore. There was a sense of like intellectual discovery had happened in the past, and now you were just living with the discoveries of something like 40 years before. And you've got a government that's not really helping you much. So even though that's very Russia, it's also very much something that you'd probably see in United Kingdom. You'd probably see it throughout Europe. You know, it was this kind of thing of it's something that affected Europe during that time. It was just this sort of depression that kind of like the younger generation sort of reeled against, because it was like, I can't deal with this garbage. But it's just there in their souls almost, and they're going to fight against it. This sense of life's not as great as you'd hoped it was going to be, and life's much more depressing and more damaging to you than you can were ever expecting it to be. And then what happened to at least your dreams of the past, but why have they just cuddled, really? There's that sense of that in the film. Like, what's happened in your head? How do you not see the earlier mistakes of your parents? How do you not see that and move on from that? And it's just because you just can't. It's just like, is it tied to your genes, basically? Is the way you're built, or is it to do with the social environment floating through this area that's just depressed and hollowed out? Which one is it? Or is it a combination? And it's just this sense of our society that is just basically hollowed out. It's trying to find something, whether it's religion or just each other, and everything's kind of found a bit lacking ultimately. So no matter what is said, you always have this feeling of this lack of purpose, but people are still looking for it and failing to find it. So I'm not sure I have much more to say about this film. It's an experiential film. It really is about floating through these scenes and slowly putting things together. But it is almost like the pain of family and the pain of not being able to communicate with family and not being able to understand your place in that environment and how that affects you as you try and create your own family and how you're alienated still from that. And it's just this sense of continuing failure. So it's a cheerful first film, because Tarkovsky's always cheerful. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's not depressed you too much, but I hope it encourages you to go and see the film, because the film is wonderful. So that's me for now. I'll be back very soon. Bye.